Senator Doug Facemeyer from West Virginia, and it is my pleasure today to introduce the Southern States Energy Board's chairman-elect for his keynote address. Governor Earl Tomblin has provided the leadership that the state of West Virginia needs when it comes to protecting our economy, not just in West Virginia, but the entire country. We are witnessing the devastation of an industry that has been the backbone of the American economy. The coal industry, the livelihood of many West Virginians, and the coal workforce of other coal states is suffering enormously. The nation has relied on the dedication of these working people. It is because of their hard work that we enjoy reliable, affordable, and abundant energy. At the same time, we are prioritizing our efforts to support our citizens in recovering from the loss of the jobs and local revenues. Understanding that market forces are contributing to the major shifts in the fuel choice. The regulatory constraints will dictate higher energy costs for all consumers if we are forced to abandon coal as a domestic energy resource. Without a doubt, a large portion of household incomes will be impacted. Our governor is taking a strong stance for the citizens of West Virginia, and I'm sure we will hear some more about that today. I applaud him for his statesmanship. Governor Earl Tomblin served as the 35th governor of the Mountain State. He has a long history of public service, beginning with his election to the House of Delegates at the young age of 22. Following 6 years in the House, Governor Tomblin was elected to the state Senate. He was the longest-serving Senate president and named the first lieutenant governor in the year 2000. In a special election in November 2010, Governor Tomblin was elected acting governor. He was elected governor in November 2011 and again in 2013 for his second term. Governor Tomblin is the Southern States Energy Board's chairman-elect and is the president of the Council of State Governments. Just this past week, he was appointed chairman of the National Governors Association, Economic Development, and Commerce Committee. Please join me in welcoming my governor and the chairman-elect of the Southern States Energy Board, Governor Earl Tomblin. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's my honor to be here, and thank you, Senator Facemeyer, for that very kind introduction. Doug and I served in the Senate together, and he always gets me a little nervous when he goes to introduce me, but you never know what he's going to say. But anyhow, I do want to thank Doug for representing West Virginia so capably on the Southern States Energy Board. It's great to be here with so many people who are committed to supporting energy-producing states across the country that power our nation. I'd like to recognize, I'm not sure if he's still here, Alabama Governor Robert Bentley, who I've had the privilege of serving with in other roles, including committee chairs and vice chairs for the National Governors Association. Governor, I think you may already be gone, but I want to thank you for your service this year as chairman of the Southern States Energy Board and for hosting this year's annual meeting. I'd also like to recognize, if he's here, I got to talk to him last night, the Honorable Gary Doer, the Canada's ambassador to the United States, and the rest of the Canadian delegation. And thank you for your continued partnership and support. The Canadians are great partners with us, and we want to make sure that we continue to work very well with our friends to the north. It's my privilege to join you this morning as we celebrate the 54th annual meeting of the Southern States Energy Board. Today, we recognize an exciting time in our nation's energy industry. And while there will be challenges along the way, I'm confident that we can create a brighter future by working together. For decades, West Virginia has been one of the nation's leading producers of energy. Our resources are plentiful, and our workforce is dedicated to providing the energy that our country needs. Coal continues to be the leading energy resource in the Mountain State. Last year, our coal industry directly employed more than 24,000 hardworking West Virginians and produced more than 113 million tons of coal, with tens of thousands more West Virginians working to support the coal industry. In 2013, we sent coal to 23 different states and exported more than 60 million tons to foreign countries. These jobs are critical to our states and to our people. Regardless of what some may think, coal is and must remain a key component of our country's energy strategy, especially if the United States is to be energy independent. Growing up in the heart of the coal country, I learned from a very early age just how important our coal industry is to our nation. And I'm committed to making sure that West Virginia and other energy-producing states across the country have the opportunity to remain as leaders. In today's global economy, we should be working together toward energy independence, not allowing government agencies to obstruct our nation's energy production. This June, the EPA announced new proposed rules related to carbon dioxide emissions from existing power plants across the United States. Unfortunately, the proposed plan falls far short of the balance that must exist if we are to continue to grow and prosper. Over the past several months, we've watched in West Virginia as coal companies and ancillary industries notify hardworking families of upcoming layoffs. These layoffs are heartbreaking and frustrating for our families and our communities. They depend on these jobs to keep food on the table and roof overhead. We realize market trends can play a part in these closures. However, these actions also highlight the very real impacts of the current regulatory environment in which the industry must operate. The EPA must take a hard look at what's happening in energy-producing states across the country as a result of past regulations and the potentially devastating consequences the proposed carbon emission rules will have on our families and on our communities. We understand the importance of the environmental stewardship, but we also understand the importance of the hard day's work. The EPA must take into account the economic devastation that is already occurring as a result of current regulations and develop reasonable, attainable steps that balance the environmental protection we all support with the economic growth that we must maintain. We can and must do better for our communities and our families. Coal is not the only natural resource which West Virginia is blessed to have. As we continue to develop the Utica and Marcellus shales, we are realizing the incredible opportunities that we have with natural gas. The expansion of this industry in our region can create jobs, heat our homes, fuel our cars, and perhaps more importantly, rejuvenate our nation's manufacturing sector. Last year, I announced the potential development of a new petrochemical complex in West Virginia's Mid-Ohio Valley. They call the project Ascent, or the Appalachian Shell Cracker Enterprise. The development would include an ethane cracker, 3 polyethylene plants, and infrastructure for water treatment and energy cogeneration. This type of investment in the billions of dollars would bring thousands, thousands of construction jobs and hundreds of permanent jobs. These plants are huge, and the potential manufacturing opportunities our region would attract because of the cracker and the feedstock it will create are even bigger. So you can think about it this way. It's thousands of new jobs for our kids sitting in classrooms right now wondering what their future may be like. And it's billions of dollars in economic impact that will affect every aspect of our economies, from locally owned grocery stores to international plastics manufacturers. These types of investments and the downstream companies that are sure to follow represent continued economic growth which will benefit our region for years to come. While West Virginia is a leader in coal and natural gas production, we are also utilizing hydro, solar, and wind energy as well. Our currently licensed hydro facilities have the capacity of 462 megawatts, and we have preliminary permits to support another 475 megawatts. Our wind farms are currently operating with a capacity of 583 megawatts, with another 160 under permit. A diverse energy portfolio is essential, and by supporting this effort, we can support job creation, strengthen our systems reliability, ensure price stability, provide for effective resource planning and innovation, and balance environmental protection with economic growth. A recent report by IHS Energy found that we're currently moving toward a significant reduction of diversity in our electricity mix, ultimately putting the capacity of our nation's power grid at risk. If we continue to shut down power generation plants across the country, our nation's annual gross domestic product has the potential to decline by nearly $200 billion. It is outrageous that we as a country would even consider regulations that will put us at a distinct disadvantage when it comes to creating opportunities for our young people and security for our elders. They deserve better than this. This morning, Governor Bentley outlined some of the challenges that our country faces and some of the projects that can lead our states forward. As we move forward, we must support the research and the innovation necessary to be successful. In Morgantown, West Virginia, our National Energy Technology Laboratory is developing energy technologies that can be sold around the world. But continued budget cuts at the federal level cripple the research we need to move this project forward. We must take successful projects and demonstrations like the Southeast Regional Carbon Sequestration Partnership here in Mobile and implement them on a large scale. We must support the private and public partnerships that can help to perfect these state-of-the-art processes to ensure the commercial viability and benefits of these technologies across the globe. As we move forward, we must take steps to stabilize our energy infrastructure and provide reliable power throughout the country. We must continue to make technology and innovation a priority and give states and utilities a reasonable amount of time to plan for and adjust to the demands of the new regulatory environment in which industry must operate. Since the EPA's proposed rules were introduced in June, we've been told that states will have flexibility to meet these new standards. However, the plan identifies renewable energy targets using a one-size-fits-all metric with no regard for the availability of those resources in each state. For example, in West Virginia's mandated renewable energy goal, an increase of 600% is simply unattainable for us. Cost-competitive renewable energy is not available in our state. The EPA must establish goals based on actual available resources and technology, not on far-fetched benchmarks. The future economic opportunity of our states and our nation relies on our ability to balance our country's environmental policy with our energy policy, supporting an all-of-the-above approach and allowing us to make the most of the resources that we have available to us. We must pursue a strategy that strengthens our nation's energy sector, giving us the opportunity to compete on a global scale. I thank you for having me this morning, and I would be happy to respond to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Governor. One of the questions that I would like to ask you is maybe you could talk a little bit on mentioning the healthy prospects regarding the development of the Marcellus Shale formation to produce natural gas as an economic growth opportunity. What are the legal barriers that we must overcome in order to make this happen?
Let me just, in West Virginia, it's kind of the best of times and the worst of times. In the southern part of the state, we're losing coal mining jobs right and left, and in the northern part of the state, we're producing more natural gas than we had ever imagined 5 or 10 years ago. And obviously with the development of the new technology and horizontal drilling that has come to the Appalachian Basin, it's been a very good thing for us so far. In 2011, we were the first state in the Appalachian Basin to regulate and write the rules for horizontal drilling in the area. And basically, Pennsylvania and Ohio have picked up and are, I think, using our legislation as the benchmark to go forward. I think it's helped industry who's drilling in that area and investing in West Virginia to have the roadmap they needed to assure that their investments were secure in West Virginia. So we have been somewhat the leader in that area, but I understand that we have the potential with the amount of gas, not only in the Marcellus Shale, but the Utica shales, along with the oils that's going to last for many years, some of the largest reserves in the world right now. So, in order to capitalize on that, what we're pushing very hard for and working with our economic development department is to basically to attract crackers, and I think that we are well on our road to attracting at least one or two $4 to $5 billion investments in our state. As I mentioned in my remarks, during the 3 or 4 years that it will take to construct one of these, there will be thousands of construction workers, if it's anything like the ones that are being built in areas overseas that we have looked at. And then the real growth and the wealth for us will come in the downstream industries, and that will be in the form of new polymer plastics chemical plants that West Virginia had many years ago been known to be a leader in, but as natural gas became more scarce in the Appalachian Basin before the Marcellus and Utica, a lot of those jobs moved south and moved overseas. So, we're hoping to revitalize our chemical industry, plastics industry in West Virginia, and use the good amount of the quality of the wet gas from the Marcellus Shale be used right at home in West Virginia.
Got one more question for you, Governor. West Virginia is among those states leading the way to an all-of-the-above portfolio on energy resources by developing a clean electricity standard a few years back. What are the effects of that standard, and how has the economy been strengthened by it?
I think that all across the country and all across the world, people are looking at renewable energies and realizing that we can't go on forever the way we have been. However, we, as Doug said, we did pass a Energy Portfolio Act in West Virginia, and by 2025, 25% of our electricity will come from renewables, and we are working toward that goal. I gave you some numbers on our hydropower, our wind power, but obviously, as far as I'm concerned, coal and natural gas will continue to be a major player for many years to come. Coal has been the very affordable electricity that has helped this nation become strong over the years through our world wars and so forth, and supplying the met coal that's produced the steel for our warships. It's supplied the electricity to our homes, our hospitals, schools, and factories over the years. And even though that we all realize that we want a clean environment, I think that we need to have a realistic approach coming from the EPA and the federal government as to how quickly we can get there, how quickly the technology can be developed to assure that we can burn our coal and natural gas. Obviously, there's a lot of people that have opposite views of that, but I still think if we're going to remain a strong nation, we've got to continue to have affordable electricity in this country. And it's not going to happen for the appetite that we have for electricity, in my opinion, with solar or hydro at this time.
I think from what you've heard here, you understand that our new chairman-elect will hit the road running. He does not have to be educated on the importance of energy and what a driver it is. And the one last thing that I would like to say is, as legislators, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to our citizens that we serve as well as this country. It's time that we stand up and say, enough is enough. We know what's going on with the EPA is wrong, but yet we still seem to somehow accept it. It's time that we get together as the United States of America and say, enough is enough. We owe this to our citizens and to our children to provide them the opportunity to take this country to a level that it's never been before. We're the best in the world at producing energy. We have the best engineers in the world. We have the best chemical companies in the world. We have it all right here. And because of a few people who do not seem to understand the importance of economics, they're stifling us. It's wrong. We need to go back home. We need to talk to our fellow legislators, and we need to say, enough is enough. It's time that we, as state legislators, take our country back. Thank you for having us.